Hey everyone, welcome back to Metra's monthly report. This is the March monthly report, and we've got a short one for you, but it's nice and clean and pretty concise, and we got some interesting information for you.
So, as always, you guys, as you know, I'm Vladimir Sokolov. I'm the President and Secretary of Metra, and this is
Derek Boyd, the CEO.
And so let's go on ahead and let's get started. Obviously, for those of you that watch our previous videos, you already know that what we always do is we wrap up the things that happened in the previous month. So for this month, we're in the month of March 2021. We're going to sit there and we're going to wrap up everything that happened in the month of February 2021. So first item, I can't believe we are still talking about this 3 months later, but we got to start talking about T-Mobile. So T-Mobile has finally, by the gods, fixed it. It's done.
Yep.
It is completed. So, Derek, I believe you were speaking with that representative a lot more, just kind of filling me in.
Yep.
So, please explain to them the events that transpired.
So to kind of remind you guys, backing up to February, if you remember, we had to go through their corporate line because their actual customer service division was a complete disaster. So we weren't making any progress there. We went through that corporate line. We got an individual representative who actually had to handle our account solely and make sure everything was done correctly. And that lady's name is Felicia, and she has been an absolute godsend. So, so to kind of give you an update of exactly what she did in the order that she did it and what our overall ending result was. So if you remember, we had 3 accounts. We had the original account that we had made back like a year and a half ago or so, and that was the account that we were going to transfer from to a new account, which was now the Metra account, so we can start building that net 30 for the business credit. So we had the original account, we had the messed up Metra account that was a sole proprietorship, and then they reverted it and made the new one, which was the correct Metra account. Well, when she was having to go into our account, she had to do about 4 things for us. First off, we wound up getting charged 2 bills. The first bill for the first account wound up getting charged, and then the third account wound up getting charged. That second middle one was only open for like a week. They never charged us for that one. But we still got charged for 2 accounts when we were only using 1. So she had to go in and refund us one of those. So she wound up refunding us the first account, which was actually a little bit more, so that was really great. Then she had to, which was the hardest part, transfer all the promotions and basically any account information that we had on the original account and transfer it to the newest one. So that meant like not only the lines that we had on there, but any promotions we had with those lines.
So we had a promotion for like a free line that we got on a Black Friday deal. So basically, if we had 3 lines, if we added a 4th, we'd get that one for free, things like that. So those all had to manually be transferred over, as well as like some of the stuff with like Netflix or whatever else too.
Plus, we also had device payments because we had Vlad and his girlfriend had new phones they were making payments on. So those, the credit that they had originally gotten, for example, Vlad had traded in his phone, so he had gotten a credit and then he had made payments on it. Well, they had to not only give him his original credit, but also backtrack every payment that he made and then add it over back as if he had caught everything up and start from there to make sure everything was even moving forward. And, well, they were having an absolute disaster of a time. Specifically, Felicia had straight up mentioned to us, and I want to clarify exactly their position. Whenever the customer service always says they can't do anything because their system doesn't allow it, or as Vlad likes to always talk about, the machine.
The machines won't let us do it.
These are the people above that literally tell the engineers or whoever builds their machines.
This person is the machine, okay? This is the person that they message and they talk to because they can't get it done within the machine.
And she was having a hell of a time, apparently. She spent like 2 weeks just trying to fix this promotional system, and she could not get it because what we found out was that when they had transferred everything from the first account to the second account, they could not transfer a second time.
So what he's talking about, just to give you guys a little bit more clarity, what we basically had is that we had 2 phone lines, being his line and another line, on a promotional on like an actual, like almost like a 2-year contract promotion in a sense, where basically we were being billed a device payment, but then they were crediting the device payment. So it's the equivalent of a 2-year contract. If you cancel it or terminate early, you get hit with the entire remaining amount. Me and my girlfriend, we had it under a device payment, and I had it with promotion, she did not. And so what ended up happening when they transferred them all the first time, the system for some stupid reason hard locks them, and you can't do it again. this was the first time that we were actually hearing about this and getting any kind of clear, concrete information about, anything. And she was trying to rectify this. She tried deleting the account, doing some other things, trying to see if she could transfer it over. Nothing was working. So we got this beautiful compensation package. So get this. Not only did she make an executive decision and waive immediately.
That's exactly what she said. She said executive decision because she could not get it to resolve it all. Kind of clarify, make it simple. We got brand new phones because we had brought our own devices over, but we had brand new phones for starting new lines, and we just sold those phones for free money, and we were putting our own phones back on the plan, but we were still being credited or billed for those phones, so we still had to pay for the remaining portion of those because we'd only paid about a year and some change in, so we still owed like $80 per phone. She waived all of that. That's what he's talking about.
And then, because of everything that was going on, she also said that this was our compensation, that she just deleted our device payments and any record of us owing anything on my phone, which my phone is a brand new phone. I have an iPhone 12 Pro Max, like 256 gigabyte, and my girlfriend has she got a newer Pixel 4 at some point, and so she just waived both of those. So we just basically got two phones for completely free, which saves us over the course of the long run, like what, $1,400?
No, after all the savings that she made, we wound up saving about $2,000. And she also reduced our overall monthly bill by about $15 or so on top of all the other promotions and everything she added in there. So our total bill right now for four unlimited plans for the entirety of the account is right around $150, and that includes a couple of insurances and stuff too.
Yep.
Super cheap. Would never have had that cheap before. And we were looking to jump to Verizon back when we were having issues. And
we actually would have made a profit even with the device payments still on there, because I was showing him the math with the promotion that they had for bring your own device. We would have actually made a profit for sitting there and switching over to Verizon of $200. Problem is, I'm sorry, Verizon is too expensive. It just is. Him and I were talking about this, and it's really sad to think that we're probably not the only customers that have ever experienced this. And how many customers did leave because they didn't actually keep pushing and keep following up,
or find the right person.
Yeah, find the right almighty Indian to speak with, or whatever else. And it's definitely kind of sad, because that entire support system they have, it needs an overhaul. It really does. This is an issue and a problem that should have been fixed month one when we were doing it, because this has been going on since January's video, February's video, and finally got resolved here in March's video.
And this was only like a couple weeks ago, so this literally was at least a 2.5 month process minimum.
So that's what we have to say. But bravo T-Mobile, everything's good on our account. If you ever transfer any device payments ever in T-Mobile in-house from like your personal account, because you decide to open up a business account, you can only do it once. Understand that. I don't care what anyone says. The system will literally not let you do it again, and you are at risk of getting billed for the entire balance of the remaining amount if you try.
Yeah, it's basically what we were informed of. So yeah, just take that to heart and know that you can't transfer more than once.
Yep. So that's T-Mobile finally wrapped up and done.
But we're done, baby. We got out golden.
So let's move on to the next thing. So last video in February, we talked about 3 different properties. We talked about the Orangeburg deal, which was the flooded house. We talked about the Manning deal, which was an owner finance house. And we talked about the Belton deal, which was a mobile home. I'm going to go ahead and start off on the Orangeburg house, and then I'll let Derek take over for the Manning and Belton, because he's more familiar with those. So the Orangeburg house. This was the one, if you guys don't remember, it was the one that was flooded. I'll show some video here just to give you guys some reminder of the houses as we go. It was not feasible. There wasn't a reasonable way to do it. Unless that house was in borderline immaculate condition, you just could not have done anything to prevent the swamp from being a forever continuous issue without just dumping in the entire cost of buying land somewhere else.
Yeah, that land unfortunately was the most expensive portion, which is really the only value of that area, because like you said, that house kind of needs to be bulldozed. So the land itself didn't really retain too much value, because you had to put more money into it to make it valuable by doing a couple options. Like one was like building a canal.
Yeah, like you would sit there, and basically what you would have is that you would raise the land up, almost not necessarily like a triangle part, but just imagine like here's 0, and you go like 1.5, like 1.
It's what they do on football
so on and
fields.
so forth.
They'll have it to where it just slowly grades down,
Yeah.
and so water will work its way off the field. Same logic.
Exactly. So that was one option. Then obviously there was the potential chance of like just filling it in more, and that'll help the water, but that was a maybe. And then obviously the big one, which was just literally dig a swamp, like just have all the water flowing into one area.
And all those options came to where
you have to have a bulldozer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not what is it? The
backhoe.
You have to have a backhoe to actually do any of these. So you're either going to be renting one, hiring a crew, or doing something else along those lines.
And either way, especially if you're having to haul dirt in, all this stuff is literally going to cost you as much as what it was going to cost us to even get into the land itself, plus payments and whatnot.
Or you could literally just pay to buy land in a more premium area.
And there was a lot more nicer looking areas that had better, flatter land with less swamp issues. Plus, this was in a kind of a sort of established mobile home neighborhood, so the mobile homes themselves don't really bring too much value to that.
So
it really wasn't worth too
unfortunately,
much.
Orangeburg, no deal.
Yeah.
Manning deal.
Yeah, so this one was actually stupid. This was actually just straight up stupid. We looked at this property on like a Thursday. I called the next 3 days, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 5 times total. And then I wound up texting them and leaving them an email on Monday because I still hadn't heard back from them. They didn't respond back to me with like some other representative or teammate or whatever. I guess it's a team of people, whatever. It's usually BS. It's usually like 3 people and one guy just calls him some teammate. And so anyways, so the other guy winds up reaching out to me like 3 weeks later and was like, yeah, so we saw that you'd reached out about this property and you were interested. Unfortunately, that property is sold. And I was like, okay, well, when did it sell? And he said, oh, well, it sold about a week ago. I'm like, so 2 weeks after I had put in an offer. and then I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, how much did it sell for? And he wound up telling me the price, and it was like $6,000 less than what we were offering. So which
was funny because the funniest thing was too is that we were talking about like they're doing the same thing as us. I don't know if this is actually going to make a lot of sense. I mean, we still have to make a spread, but we're willing to work with it, so on and so forth. And they sold it for even less than what we were going to offer them.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is a prime lesson in any business. Answer your damn phone.
Yeah.
If you don't answer, it's fine. Respond within 24 hours. A very simple principle. They literally just lost $6,000 because they just wouldn't respond back to hear what our offer was.
And to follow up on that, the exact opposite thing happened with the other property. Same company.
So this is the Belton mobile home deal.
So this is that one that we didn't really get any video of because we went
it
there
was
super
way
late
too
at
dark.
night. We went there like almost midnight. And it was same company that was selling it. This was just the mobile home, not the land with it. Once again, different representative. So this person tells me that house, unfortunately we should have never have gone. That house was already sold prior to him reaching out to them to get the information to go out there.
So apparently this sounds like Derek and I
zero communication.
They have zero communication. Derek and I have very tight communication. I'll tell him every time like, hey, we have this, or he'll call me. We call each other about once, if not 3 times a day, and all we ask is, do you have any updates?
Yep.
And that is a very important core thing. If you have a team of employees or a business partner, it is so important to maintain that communication amongst yourselves. Otherwise, you have disasters like what's going on over there. They clearly are not doing update conversations or meetings.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the fastest ways to make a company fail is not one, having your financials in line, and the second one is communication being a disaster. Because of exactly that issue. If they would have had clear communication, they would have $6,000 more, and they wouldn't have wasted our time. We could have been a potential better partner working.
Because now we're going to be a lot more hesitant because it's actually a company, not like an individual dude. Because again, I get it. An individual guy, 9-to-5 guy, he's doing his own thing. He doesn't have time for doing this. But when you're running a company this way, no, you must respond in at least 24 hours or less. Anytime we see a deal from them going forward, we're going to be a little skeptical about it. We don't want to necessarily plaster them or show them just yet. We want to give it one more chance to see, but that's definitely something they've got to work on. That's insane.
They definitely put a bad taste in
Yeah.
it, so we're less eager to run out there and dump money at them versus other people.
Yep. So I believe that covers everything for February, right?
That should be all the updates, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now we can move on to new stuff.
New stuff, baby.
New stuff, guys.
March.
So this
New
is
material.
March. So, Derek, you have found the creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme.
The best, most amazing house. How many of
Chef's
you
kiss.
right now would love to own a house 20 minutes away from a major college town, being Clemson University.
Oh my God.
On how many acres of land?
I think it was like 0.4.
On 0.4 acres of land
0.3
in a
0.4.
nice, quiet little community.
Ooh, right off the beaten path.
Right off the beaten path.
So not right off the major roads.
Yep.
You're not getting all that traffic. No, you go off a little bit. You go down a couple side roads, and bam, you're in silence.
3 bedroom, 1
Ooh.
bath.
No, it's too bad.
I'm sorry, 3 bedroom, 2 bath.
That's right.
Oh man.
It was 3 bedrooms.
There's only, what was the price?
12,500.
12,500 for a 3.4
Ooh.
acres, 20 minutes from a college town.
Oh my
Sounds
God.
amazing, right?
And this is in premium market. This is exactly where we invest in. So
Yep.
we were like, this might be a golden opportunity. I've seen some things. You know, it's not always too good to be true. There's a lot of times where you think that, you go out there, and sure enough, it's a legit deal.
We bought a house for $5,000 that was in near perfect condition. It was a joke.
Yeah.
But
We blew a triple of money on it.
yeah.
Anyhow, but that's the individual deal. Anyhow, so I go to this house. Vlad was busy at the time, so I physically went there, and you'll see the recording here on the screen.
I'm gonna put it up for you guys now. So Derek, please explain to us what this amazing deal looked like.
Yeah, so as you'll see from the video, I pull in, and yeah, it's a little messy from the left side or so. From where I'm at, looking at it, there's like a deck or like a railing for a handicap
It's not a
entrance,
problem.
which
A
isn't
little
a
bit
big
of
deal,
cleanup.
but it's a little dirty. I'm like, whatever,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. I've seen significantly worse. And I'm walking up the side, checking out the foundation, checking out the siding, the roof, all the major stuff that matters. Obviously, I check up underneath to see if there's any obvious damage underneath the home. Ironically. So then I go to the back and I see, which you can obviously see in this video, there is a very, very large tree that is toppled over. And I'm not talking about like just the base, like the trunk of the tree. No, I'm talking about like a third of the bottom of the tree is just hanging down. And that's a bit concerning. And it just happens to be in the back section of this fully fenced in yard. That the only thing that was missing was the gate for the entrance. But outside of that, it was fully fenced in. And so anyway, so I see that, I'm like, whatever, it's cut back, it's cool, it's already taken care of now. I turn left, I see that there's an outside shed, great, it's got extra storage, fantastic. I see the back of the home, looks like kind of crap condition, whatever, it can be repaired. I'm working my way over to the shed, I'm checking it out, looking good, I look to the left, and that's when I see, and you'll see in this video, where I found out that this was truly the creme de la creme of housing. And that instead of it being a 3-2, it's now probably a 2-0. Because roughly half to a third of the home has been crushed by said tree that has been cut back.
But look, if you're good at advertising,
Yeah,
you
baby.
can easily advertise. Like, hey, lumber ready to go
Yeah.
to repair your home.
Luckily, if you see in this video, I walk in and you'll see that I'm checking out. There's a kitchen, there's a living room, one like bedroom, and kind of like the entrance to the front. So hey, you at least can live and somewhat function in there. You just can't pee.
Hey, you just got to pee in the sink.
Exactly.
Just pee in the kitchen sink.
All
What
your-
you're going to do with
yeah.
defecation, that's your problem.
Yeah, it's all your plumbing's in one spot. Build an outhouse.
Actually, yeah, repurpose that shed he was
Exactly.
talking about.
So unfortunately, yeah, this was a too good to be true deal. So yeah, it was super cheap. We had two options on it. We could either pay $12,500 cash, or it was like $1,000 or $2,000 down. I can't remember the exact terms, but it was like $350 a month for 2 years or so, and it would have been $15,000. And so anyhow, decent deals. We could afford both. Obviously, as you remember from our video last time, we were about $16,500 in the bank. Obviously, we could afford either one of those. Would have been great. And we technically could do something with the property. However, we didn't want to, because in order for this to really work, you kind of need to put some repairs in it. This isn't one of those just put an offer on it, get it on contract, and sell it. You're going to have to get it to a point to where it's like either salvageable or at least clear it out and somebody else can come in and fix it.
In my
themselves.
experience with dealing with our owner finance program that we've been running, as long as the house has literally 4 walls and a roof, it doesn't have to be a non-leaking roof,
Just
but a roof.
a repairable.
Yes, and the ability, keyword there, the ability to have utilities easily turned on, whether it's paying a little bit to get them hooked up, or whether it's sitting there and like just calling up and just having it ready to go from there and taking over the bill. People will go for it because it is, for the most part, inhabitable. This house, this was a very weird situation. When Derek showed me the video, I watched it. I actually somehow missed the tree at first. I was like, so what's wrong with this deal? And then he explained it to me again and showed it to me. I was like, oh my.
Yeah, somehow he missed the whole like 3-minute clip of me walking on the collapsed portion of the home. I'm like,
I couldn't believe it. This thing, I don't know what you would really do. The best you can do
what
one or
you
two
do
options.
is you sell it with natural skylighting,
Natural skylighting, natural water as well.
Yeah.
What kind of water does it have? Rainwater?
Yeah, atmosphere induced airflow.
It's kind of sad because I think the only thing you could realistically do, you'd have to
with
move.
nature.
You'd have to move that tree out, clean everything out, and then you'd probably have to turn the house into like a 2-bedroom, 1 bath,
you're gonna have
or
to
something
shorten
like
it for
that.
sure. Absolutely, I would.
Unless you're willing to invest the money and do it, or just bulldoze the thing and put a mobile home on it.
Yeah, I mean, you could realistically just convert what was already a standing structure and then just collapse or get rid of the rest of the stuff and just put that in the yard, and just convert the remaining square footage, which probably was around like 850 or so, and just convert that to, like you said, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Unfortunately, though, it's still going to cost money to get into that. And
No.
given the position that we're in right now, we don't want to do that. We could, but we'd be banking everything on that succeeding or producing, especially banking on it on a very limited budget. Because if we bought it at $12,500 and we only had about $4,000 left in repairs, $4,000 wouldn't have been enough to put it into a salvageable spot to sell it. So we'd rather have just bought into something else, which we did, which is the next part of the deal, than to just invest into that. But that isn't a no necessarily. It's just no in our current situation.
Yep. So now we're gonna move on to the next thing. So we have the Jonesville property. This one is a steal.
Yes.
This is the kind of property that when you see it, you really should jump on it.
And I know these numbers sound nuts to some of you people who live in like Los Angeles or somewhere in New York. These are real numbers.
Yeah, for South Carolina real estate market, you can find ridiculously cheap deals and even through wholesalers. Like that's the thing. This person's taking anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000 plus of a cut, and it still can be this cheap.
So we're going to tell you about the deal that we actually do have. So yes, we finally did some real estate. It only took 2.5 months. We finally did some real estate.
So this Jonesville property, this is a steal. So as you guys will see in the video, this is you could argue a 3-bedroom, 1 bath or a 4-bedroom, 1 bath. You really could argue either way.
Technically a 4-bedroom.
Yeah.
Although one of the bedrooms is arguably not really a bedroom because you have to have a closet in it. Doesn't really have one.
It's maybe an office space or something like that, but you could easily use it as a bedroom. So this deal is phenomenal. This is beautiful. We got it under contract for like $14,500.
$14,500.
Yeah. So $14,500, and the thing is that with a property,
it's on like 0.8 acres.
Yeah,
it's
almost
flat.
at an acre of like flat land. It goes up on a hill and then it just flats out completely. It has the option to have well water. It has a septic tank with it, and I was very happy with this deal. Like for me personally, I do all the numbers for our owner finance. I come up with what I think the market will be receptive to. This property here, I know for a fact I can get it on owner finance for about $40,000 total, 0% interest. I'm gonna ask for $3,000. I'm probably gonna expect about $2,000 down, and then at roughly $650 a month. I'm very confident with those numbers. That leaves the person plenty of money to still have money to put towards repairs and maintenance, still get the utilities hooked up, or fix the well, whichever one they decide to do, get the electric up and running. And it's a good deal.
Let me kind of explain a little bit more about those numbers. So, because obviously most of you aren't familiar with how real estate particularly works, so I'm going to kind of break it down for you of exactly what we're doing as investors coming in and buying homes and how we're actually getting returns on it based off what he was just talking about. So first off, we had the property on contract for $14,500. Unfortunately, that's not what we're actually going to spend to buy it. You have closing costs. One of the other major things with closing costs is a title search. This really tells you a make or break if you're going to buy the house. So unlike when you buy a car and you go to a car dealership and you just sign off on title work and paper right then and there, and then you just drive the car off a lot, houses don't quite work that way. They have a lot more time involved with them because it's such a big purchase for most people, and there's a lot more history and a lot more complexity to it. So one of the things you have to do first is do a title search, which what that does is that looks back onto the history of the home and makes sure that the person who says they can sell the home legally has the right to sell the home. And then on top of that, it also makes sure that that person who can sell the home doesn't have any liens or judgments on that house. Like if they, ran a red light or something and hit somebody. And
Or
car
God forbid
damage.
they killed a kid,
Yeah.
and then
And
they
they
got sued for like $30,000.
And so the first place that lawsuits go to is always on real estate. And so what that means is that in order for this guy to sell that house, he had to pay 30 grand, or 30 grand out of the profits would go to it. So since we're paying 14.5, that's not 30 grand. He'd have to come out of pocket 16. But anyhow, so it checks the liens and judgments, make sure that the guy can actually sell it. And of course, if he can't, he has to understand what bills and whatnot he has to accommodating to it. So that's the first thing, and that usually alone, depending on the attorney availability, when they can get an abstractor, which is the person basically going to the courthouse to get the information, and if courts are open, because COVID's been a bit of a pain in the ass lately. Whenever they can get all that, that usually takes between 2 to 3 weeks, and then the attorney actually reviews it. Then they actually supply what is called a HUD statement, which is basically just a giant receipt of what the bill is going to be, or I should say receipt. It's going to be a whatever a transaction invoice. It's the same thing as an invoice. Before you actually pay, then you sit down on. Usually you pay beforehand, but sometimes you pay that day.
It's a massive invoice with basic. It's required by. I think it's a federal government thing.
Yeah, it's housing and urban.
Yeah, and it breaks down any and all potential charges, sub-cost, judgments, liens, tax liens as well. Anything and everything of where the money could be broken down. It is all itemized to the cent of where that money
including
is
what
going.
the attorney's getting as well.
Yep.
So with all that being said, we aren't going to be paying $14.5 for it. We're going to wind up paying roughly
16.
Probably about 16.
Yeah.
Usually it's about $1,000 for closing costs. Now, unfortunately, this attorney had to go through probate, which is when somebody dies and they have to inherit the home. So that takes up a little bit more money because they have to go to an actual hearing for that. So that's going to cost a tiny bit more. So with that all being said, typically the average closing cost for like if you have just an attorney involved, no realtor, it's going to be about $1,000 to $2,000 depending on the house and what's involved with it. And then in our case, we're thinking about $1,500. Now, with that, we've already got our wholesaler fee inside that $14.5. We don't know what we're paying. It's probably like $2,000. No, pretty average. Now, with that being said, so we're going to be getting into this on about 16. Now, as I was mentioning, there is a well on there and there is a septic. Unfortunately, the well doesn't work, so it's going to have to get repaired. That could be anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on if it's just a pump, a battery, some other stuff, whatnot, and so forth.
But if you repair that well, oh my God, you're in such a better position because now you never have to pay for water. The water's literally pumped out of the ground straight into your house, and you're not paying a monthly bill on it.
Now, this is also assuming that the well water is got a large enough reservoir, or it can, basically the aquifers and whatnot can replenish it quick enough so that you can continue to use it long term. Or the other issue that people run into with wells is that they can't get enough pressure, so you can't get things like showers or washers and dryers running while getting a bath or something because you can only have so much water coming in at a time. So there are some downsides to wells, but the main the main pro of it is that you don't have to pay for your city for maintenance and whatnot for them, and it's typically a shit ton cheaper. Excuse my language, but it really is. Now, with that being said, you could also get the city hooked up because on that particular street, on this home,
it's actually a little weird. The entire neighborhood is hooked up to city septic and water.
There's a neighborhood.
Except for this house.
There's a neighborhood before this little strip of houses, and there's about 20 homes here, and then there's like 5 to 7 homes on this section where this one's in the middle, and every single home except this home, so almost 30 houses, are on city water, and the main vein or the main valve goes right past the yard. Literally, it's in the yard. You can hook it up on city water, which would cost about $1,500. So if they want to, they can hook it up on city water and city water and sewer, and then that'll be $1,500 for whoever's buying it. And then same thing with the electric. The electric can range though because it depends on if it needs to be updated in any way. So the main thing with the electric is that first they gotta get a permit pulled, then they gotta get it inspected, and then anything they gotta get done with an electrician, like updating the panel box or updating any electricity in the wall if it's outdated or wires are exposed, things like that. So that can range. Estimates for that particular home are probably going to be around $3,000. So we're expecting all-in cost for somebody to get in there and physically live in it right off the bat would be about $4,500. And then that's when our profitable portions come in, which is like he was mentioning, if we were to owner finance that home, we can owner finance it for about that same $3,000 to $2,000 down, and then $650 a month, which means that if somebody were to come into that home with absolutely zero credit or anything that has any proof that they can pay for the home outside of the money in their bank, they would need about $7,000 because they would need about $3,000 for us, $2,500 whatever, and about $4,500 and some change for the utilities, and they could get in the house that day and go ahead and start living in it. So that's one of the benefits of what we do with owner finance. The other thing you can do is you can just sell the thing as it is, and that's effectively a wholesale is what it's called. You sell it before you close on it, which is exactly what we're doing.
You should always
the
be
closing
doing
date
this.
on this, by the way, is April 8th, so we have time to do this. But as you were going to say,
Listen, I'm telling you guys right now, if you're in real estate or if you're doing real estate, I don't care what you have on contract unless it's going to produce you a 50% cap rate within 6 months. You should always be putting it up for wholesale and seeing if just somebody else wants this house a bit more than you on cash. I have it listed right now, and I believe
25.
yeah, I have it listed at $25,000 is what I'm asking. Remember, we're getting it for $14,500. If we wholesale it for that 20, actually, you know, we'll be more realistic. Let's say we get it for 20. So if we wholesale it for that 20, we're still making a cash profit because now we don't have to pay any of the closing costs. It goes pushed off to the last
Because
buyer.
we're not physically closing on them. Closing means it's going into our name, or whoever's buying is paying those fees. Well, if we assign it to somebody else, we're wholesaling it to someone else, they're the new end buyer, they pay all those closing fees. So that $1,500 we mentioned earlier, not our fee anymore. So we actually save that as profit.
Always, always, always list all your all your wholesale deals for wholesale, because it doesn't matter. You never know what somebody will be doing, and you never know. You might just take better pictures than the wholesaler. You might advertise it in more places better than that wholesaler did, or whatever else. You never know, and just do it because you have nothing to lose. In worst case scenario, nobody comes through. You purchase it. In our case, if we purchase it, we're just gonna owner finance it like normal. If somebody comes through and says hey, I want it, I'm interested, I'm ready to go on it, yeah, wholesale it off to them, because now that increases the amount of revenue we have. So we'll go from $6,000 to $20,000 that we now have to actually spend towards something else.
16 to 20. So
I'm sorry, 16 to 20,000 for our budget. It does nothing but benefit us.
And so that's where you kind of have to weigh your options. So in this particular case, we have kind of a bit of a dilemma to figure out what we want to do, because we don't have a lot of money in reserves to go ahead and scale up the business, because you have kind of a couple ways you can do this. If we were to buy this particular property and owner finance it, which once again is still on the table, and we're looking to still advertise it for that. If we do though, and we only get say $2,000 back, that means that out of the $16,500 that we had available, and it's going to cost us $16,000 to close on it, we have $500 left in the bank, and then we're only going to get $2,000 back plus the first month's rent. So we're going to have roughly $3,000 and a couple dollars after that. So that's all we have available to us, and then we can't buy any new properties unless we can get them on another finance deal at some time. But we have no other alternatives because we only have $3,000 and we're producing $650 a month. So that's one of the reasons why you might want to wholesale as well, like in our particular case, because if we do and we sell it for say 20 grand or whatever, and we make 6 grand on it. So if we had 6 grand we made on that as profit plus the 16.5 we had, now we have 22.5. We could potentially buy 2 really cheap homes for around $12,000 and get into that. So, you're thinking 12 grand times 2 is 24. Well, here's what you do. You buy 1 for 12, owner finance it, get 2 back. That 2 goes into the other 10 that you had left. That's a 12 now. That 12 buys another cheap home. Now you have 2 properties that you bought for 12 that you basically used only the original amount plus whatever your profit was from the first one. And then you now have 2 properties producing, say, $500 or $600 a month. Now you've doubled your income, and that's a quicker way of buying into a 3rd property and scaling that way.
Yeah, that's why, and that's the thing. You'll hear this all the time. Never be married to your real estate unless it's something you custom built for yourself and you did exactly how you want. And even then, I'd still probably say, look, if somebody's willing to offer a big enough amount, go for it. Right now, the house I live in, I literally have this thing on the market 24/7, always. Because if somebody comes through and gives me a good offer on it, absolutely I'll take it, because then I can just take those funds and move into another property or whatever else, and probably still have money left over to spare. Never be married to your real estate, and even the deals that you're getting. The biggest thing a lot of new investors do, and a lot of people that get into real estate, I'd probably say in every field. I think every single field has this problem where basically you have this mentality that this is the deal. I have to get this deal. If I don't get this deal, I won't be successful. I won't get this big money. I won't get this payout. Stop. I swear to you, there's another just as good, if not better deal around the corner somewhere.
That's happened a lot to us where we've lost out on what was a golden opportunity to get a literally like platinum opportunity right around the corner, and we're like, holy crap, well thank God we didn't get into that because we wouldn't have the money for this.
Yep. And it's fun. It's just business. It's okay. It happens. You didn't fail. You didn't do anything wrong. You just knew where to cut your losses and move on. And again, don't be married to your real estate. That's why for us, it's standard operating procedure to put it up for cash sale as soon as we get a closing date, and then if nobody comes through within that time, we already know what our other plan is, and we know that plan is a guaranteed success. So this is the gamble, this is the success.
So let's move on to the last little bit here.
Okay, our company did acquire a property.
Yeah, so we kind of cheated.
Yeah,
this
was it wasn't a bit. It's 100%.
Yeah.
We cheated.
Yeah, we did.
We cheated. We just needed something. I'm sorry.
So we specifically moved one of our already owned properties into Metra. And specifically the reason we did this is so that way Metra can go ahead and already have an asset in its name and eventually a producing asset. So this helps with, as we were trying to do last month, build in business credit because now it's producing an income monthly. So the property we moved over is 641 Barnwell Street. It's down in Calhoun Falls.
And just so you guys know, this property has been vacant now for roughly about 5 months.
In and out.
Yeah, in and like we've had on and off tenants. Like some people sit there and want to get into it. Whatever. It's our cheapest property that Derek and I have between ourselves.
So we basically just dumped it in as an investment. So we're gonna have to, and to make this fair, down the road when Metra produces a little bit more income, we'll have to pay ourselves back. We're gonna have to like close on it for about $5 to $6 grand to pay ourselves as well as another investor to kind of clean that slate. But we'll do that down the road. Right now, the main thing is we wanted to put an asset into the name of Metra, and then we're going to get somebody on there. We've already got a couple offers on it, get that producing, and then this way we have a statement balance, something that's actually coming in on the bank records that show that there's income coming off of it, including the other house that we're already talking about doing.
Yeah.
So we're going to purchase.
And again, I understand it is a bit of a cheating start, but listen, we have been having just as much of a hellish time as if we just first started. So we just went over 641 Barnwell. Now the big one. This is a big update coming from me. Investors. Alright guys. We talked about investors last video. I've been pumping out investor ads. I've been working with our broker Todd trying to get more investors. No luck. It's just that simple. Even with the 4 years of experience in real estate that he has, the 3.5 years of experience that I have, the portfolio that we've managed in the past, the portfolio that we still currently have to this day, and everything that we know and have with it, and all the records and proof we can provide from bank statements and everything else, still can't find an investor right now. It's okay. It takes time.
The reason we can't find an investor, to clarify, is literally because every time we go to reach out to one, they always want to see who we are, and they do some background research, which is fine, do your due diligence. But here's the problem we always run into. They see that we're a 3-month-old company, and they're like, well, that sounds like a scam. The 3-month-old company, say they got all this history on it. They were so good and they had so much history. Why don't they have all these other companies that are lasting long term? Well, we do, but we don't want to use those companies. We're using them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, too, the other thing is that, let's be real here, nobody's going to want to shuffle through my backlog. I probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 pages of paperwork and proof I could show to somebody for how long him and I have been in business. Nobody's going to waste their time going through that. We are going through the exact same struggles right now as a brand new company just because we're under a 3-month name as you guys would starting up your first company, and it's okay. The biggest thing is that I'll go over how to look out for scammers, and I'll tell you guys this too. You just got to keep pumping out the ads. You got to keep pumping it out. You got to keep trying to connect with people, keep trying to talk with people, because the thing is, you only need one. You get one, it's astronomically easier to get the next and start scaling from there, because you already have somebody that can validate your specific company and can say that yes, this person pays. And listen, when you get your first investor, it is more important to pay them than to feed yourself. I want to make that very clear. If you have to make the choice between having 3 meals a day or cutting down to 1 meal a day and paying your investor, you pay your investor and you eat that 1 meal. Because the thing is, that one person's like remark when it comes to other people asking, well, who else do you have as investors with you? That one person being a successful, good, actually on-time paid investor carries gold of weight for you and will exponentially expedite how quickly you start getting investors from there.
Not to mention, a lot of times when one person has a little bit of money in the bank, they usually have a friend who also has a little bit of money in the bank,
or another investor, or whatever else.
It starts becoming a cascading effect. So it's like you knock one domino down, you get 50 after the fact.
And it's phenomenal. But the thing is that we are back to the struggle. We have one person that's looking to invest. They actually seem very interested. Problem is, because of this whole COVID thing hitting again, and then pretending that the courts need to be shut down, which is just absolutely ludicrous. I don't care what anyone has to say. The courts being shut down over this is insane to me. And she can't get her settlement money that she's expecting to get, that she's planning to use to invest into us, and we can't get our funds. So I can't necessarily bank on this one or move forward on it in any way. Then oh man, this was a disaster. So I joined a bunch of Facebook groups that were like looking for investors, looking for business partners, angel investors, upstate investors, like things like that. Just all these different investor groups. And I put out an ad. I literally put our terms and everything else in it. We've gotten a little bit of interest. Some people have reached out. We've sent them a portfolio sheet, talk with them. They said that they're a little hesitant and they're still trying to figure out if they want to move forward on it. Understandable. Don't get mad because somebody's hesitant. If somebody did the same thing to you, you'd probably also be a little hesitant, as you have the right to be. But then you get the scammers, man. And the scammers are what annoy me. When people, I hate to say it, but when people ask me to call them on WhatsApp, there's like a 6th sense of scam. And it seems to always pan out, because what these people want is that they say that they're investors, or they say they're accredited lenders, or whatever else. And what they want you to do is they want you to pay something known as an origination fee to them before they'll issue out any funds. So what an origination fee is that it's a fee that gets charged when it's drafting and putting together the paperwork. So usually it's because you have to pay an attorney to create the paperwork, put it all together, and then attach it to whatever property it's supposed to go to. However, you should never be paying an origination fee until it's almost time to close and you've been approved for something. These people want their origination fee up front before they'll even approve you.
An origination fee is when they've already begun doing the work. You can put a deposit down sometimes, but typically you don't pay anything until they've actually started doing work. Otherwise, you're sending them money to not do work because they'll take your money and run.
And then the way that they'll sit there and get around it and make it seem legitimate is that they'll tell you you just weren't approved for the loan or whatever else, and then walk away and go from there. And it just drives me insane. It drives me insane. And like, these are things you need to be careful. I get it. When you're starting out, you are desperate to get somebody else in, whether it's a lender, a private money guy, investor, friends, family. I get it. You are so desperate to get something in. Don't put yourself in stupid positions. Start just throwing your money out the window. Prime example of throwing your money out the window, what we talked about in one of our earlier videos where we mentioned the whole thing with Excel Capital with Sharon. That's an example of what these people do. They will take your money, run, never provide you anything. Either the deal went south, the loan, you didn't get approved, or whatever else. But main thing with investors, guys, you got to keep at it. You just need one. So, you have anything you want to add or say to that? Or
no, now it's just the final bit, which is the budget and projections.
Yep, budget projections. So this is where the fun stuff happens.
So really, once again, we haven't done anything technically, because we don't actually close on the property, like I said, until the 8th. So as of right now, our budget is actually the same. It's still the $16,500 we had in February. However, it will obviously change going into April because we have to pay for that property unless we sell it, and even then it still changes because we made profit. So going forward, I can say at least for the projections, here's kind of what we project. I'm going to go based on the finance amounts because those I'm very confident we can do. I don't know about the sales because we don't know if we're going to find a buyer in time because we only have about a week and a half based off the time of the recording of this video. So with that being said, if we do get the down payment amount of about $2,000, this is for the Jonesville property, if we get about $2,000 for that and about $650 a month there, then we're going to have about, like I said, about $500 left in the bank for the closing. And then we're going to have that $2,000 in profit plus an additional $650. So it'll be at $3,150. But, like I said, we kind of cheated to do another property in there. We are expecting to get about $1,000 down for the Barnwell property.
I'd say probably about $400.
$400 a month, exactly. And so if we get that, that'd be an additional $1,400. So we'd be theoretically at about $4,500 if we get that money in, with an average roughly profit of around, let's just do this first. Gross would be $1,050 because you have the $650 plus $400. Estimated cost, because we really only have two costs with that, which would be the insurances on the property and property taxes, because we always cover property taxes, we don't lose the home. So rough cost on that's probably like $225 for the two properties. So we'll probably make an $825 a month on profit, which means if we wanted to, once again, we could sit there and wait for about 10 months or so, add enough money up, have about 10 grand and some change, and then go buy another property. We're not going to wait 10 months to buy a property. We're going to continue to do things like invest into the company. So from this point forward, you're going to see us personally investing or doing some more wholesale deals until we get enough profit to buy a third property.
Just something, either way. Whatever we have to do to just keep getting this up and running and just keep pushing the cart forward.
So basically, no change yet, but we already have projections now. Finally.
Yeah, projections are still looking pretty good because even after all costs, like Derek was saying, about $650 is what I'm expecting, almost guaranteed. It's never guaranteed, but you can be pretty solid on your figures once you know the market. $650 I'm projecting on Jonesville, $400 for Barnwell. Sounds nice. It sounds like you're, again, like he was saying, you're going to sit there and end up with $1,050. Not exactly. Property taxes, insurance, and whatever else. Probably going to knock us down to about $820. Still not bad. $820 a month for two properties after all costs. Doing pretty good, honestly. And that's some pretty good projections to finally start getting something to go in there. With that, I think we've actually covered everything. Well, I guess we should address the elephant in the room.
Couple little updates. First
These
thing,
are just announcements now.
First thing is, as you can tell, we are clearly in a different area. As you remember,
the new and improved.
Yeah, as you remember in the last video, we were in a camper that sold, and the guy finally picked it up. So unfortunately, we couldn't use it for a third time. We had to use a new place.
Yep, couldn't trespass this time.
And we had to kind of quickly do this because March was kicking us in the butt a little bit, and we were behind on the times of getting things done. And so we're in Vlad's living room.
It's a beautiful place, boys.
Yeah, baby.
This is where I sit to play Minecraft every day.
On his almost casting couch.
So
welcome,
that's fully paid off on my
So welcome to Metra casting, baby. Anyhow, so this is probably a temporary solution as well. We're currently working on the new studio right now.
We are working on it. I promise. It's just we got behind.
But anyhow, so we're working on that. So hopefully we'll have that up by the next video. If not, it'll be the video after that. And then the last thing was basically the tiny update, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. For
that's right. So
Twitch.
So last month we obviously announced that we were going to sit there and we were going to do we were going to start looking into doing Twitch streaming, trying to figure out how we can do it, so that way you guys can see us on a personal side. Here on the company side, we're only going to talk about things that are either directly or 100% related to the company. Or we purposefully try to keep everything on us individually out. So because it's not the place for that. And the thing is, obviously on the Twitch side, we want to do more personal stuff, so you guys can get to know me more as a person, him more as a person, if that's something you're interested in. Again, I'm kind of falling behind. I'll be honest, here at my house, because I also rent out the rooms here, it is a bit more difficult for me to be able to stream. And with him, once we get up the recording studio, it will become more of a possibility for at least him, but we're still trying to figure out what to do on my side. It's not something that's gone away. It's not something that we kicked to the curb and said no. We're just not
having
sure.
Scheduling conflicts too, because we have to run this business, our own personal businesses,
and bring in personal incomes as well to make sure we're still
then
floating
we're
everything.
Trying to shuffle the Twitch time into something that's a reasonable time frame, not like 6 o'clock in the morning when nobody's gonna watch. So obviously we got to figure that out as well. And then of course we just have our daily lives that we want to live. So we're still trying to figure that whole thing out. We're trying to at least get to around a 1 to 2 day thing a week. But once again, when we get a little bit more concrete, we'll give you a better announcement. We're just struggling to get everything kind of organized.
But for now, just we're hoping to get, our main objectives are obviously finish closing on this property, whether it's a wholesale or close on it in general, find bigger, better, greater deals, and get that first investor. That's really the main things we care about more than anything else. And here's the thing, guys. I'm not kidding. If you have someone, I don't care, friend, family member, someone who has money sitting around in an IRA, someone who has money in a mutual account, anything like that, if you bring them to us as an investor, we will pay you a commission and a fee for doing so. We always believe in paying people for bringing money for us on the table. And we typically do it on a percentage basis as well. So the more they invest, the more you get as well. Please, anybody that might be interested, bring somebody to the table on us. We'll pay you a commission and a cut on it, and we can move forward on it. We have great rates, great returns, and the thing is, all of ours are secured. But the main thing is here is that I think this pretty much actually wraps up everything on the video.
That does. So, good news, we finally did real estate.
Bad news, I'm struggling to get us our first investor.
But we're making progress. So, at least we're getting somewhere. So, as far as March goes, pretty successful. And going into April, it looks like it's going to be pretty good because we got a couple big things in the works. Can't announce it yet, but we will down the road.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think that pretty much covers everything for the Metra March 2021 video. I'm again Vladimir Stakov, and this is
Derek Boyd, and I appreciate you again for watching us. And
yeah, we're out. We'll see you guys next month.
See you
Peace.
guys.